Can anyone beat the flying Estonian? That is the question we have to ask pretty much every week here in the Synology GT3 Championship, and this week is no different. 35 plus GT3s have to find their way around the historic circuit of Imola. Join myself, Conor Maddock, and Cam Walsh for some green flag racing after this. Well, welcome to the 2017 Synology GT3 Championship, brought to you on Racebot TV by TMS Motorsport. TMS Motorsport offers a comprehensive range of tuning parts for all makes and models with competitive pricing, worldwide delivery, and great customer service. Visit them today at tmsmotorsport.co.uk. For this race, qualifying is in the books, and well, this is as good a time as any to go over your starting grid. Benjamin Hackeson puts it on that pole position for what feels like the first time this season, and by 1/10 of a second over Iru Nom, so he has a good chance this race to take something from the Estonian. Craig Parks lines up in that third place. Daniel Page will take it to fourth place on the grid. Dacian Dilworth fifth. JPW Ringwood, JJ Rimmer, Dion Phillips, Craig A. Williams, and Neil Bamber are your top 10 on today's starting grid. Adam Shipson, Matthijs van Delden, they take you down to the 12th place. Soren Cruz, Simon Underhill, Lee Bunker, Bram Reniers, Paul Walmsley, John Cook, Alan McCain, and Taylor Lane round out your top 20 on tonight's starting grid. And well, that was an absolutely beautiful lap by Benjamin Hackeson there, Cam. Just beating Iru Nom, the series leader, by 1/10 of a second, and we haven't really seen that so far this season.
Just barely by a hair, the McLaren beats the Ford, but we'll see what happens between these two guys, that Synology McLaren and that Bushfink Racing Ford. So they're rolling away right now, Connery. We'll see how they do out here at this great Imola circuit.
Yeah, a good start here from Benjamin Hackeson is absolutely crucial. Not too many overtaking opportunities here on the circuit of Imola as they head their way down to the final two Ravazzas here on the circuit. We're only going to get pretty much a quarter of a pace lap here before that pace car's just going to pull off down pit road, and we'll get some green flag racing here in today. There goes the pace car. There goes Benjamin Hackeson. The field is under the control, under his control right now, and he's just gonna go 100% throttle, and he's gonna get a good jump. Green flag racing here in the Synology GT3 Championships. They storm their way across the start-finish line. Your top four pretty much single file, but here's some side-by-side racing between Jason Dilworth and JPW Ringwood. No, Ringwood's just going to back out of that one, but that's going to put him under vulnerable from the number 55 car, JJ Rimmer, as they head through Tamburello for the first time. Most of your field getting strung out very, very nicely. Not all that many incidents coming down through your field. Here comes Taylor Lane and Paul Wormsley. They're going to head their way side by side, but they're just going to fall single file yet again, and a relatively clean start here, Cam.
Yeah, and it did look like we had something well in the back of the field, around cars around the 30th position. The 033 car, it was a Mercedes, ended up, I believe, having a bit of a tussle with another one of the Mercedes of Raul Horba, and of that 044 car collected, I think, probably a third Mercedes and then a fourth Mercedes. So an incident that really involved nothing but Mercedes here at the very start of this race. It's very unique, I have to say, start-finish straight. As almost the entire thing's a corner as we're looking at the replay right now.
Yeah, we are, and that was 3 wide coming across the start-finish line for the start of the race. And Roel Huben and Anthony Marsh, they just got into a little bit of a tangle on the run coming down into Tamburello. 3 cars into the wall there, and Chris Burrell's also going to get collected in that one to make a grand total of 4 cars involved in that first incident. But in terms of the rest of your field, though, things seem relatively clean indeed. Benjamin Hackeson is still out there in front. Iro Norman, Craig Parks, Daniel Page, and Jason Dilworth, all single file right behind them. Looking back towards, though, to the 57, I believe that was, of Adam Shipstone. He's going to head his way down pit road. There seems to be some fairly significant damage to the front of that AMG Mercedes. And there was an incident coming down into Ravazza, I believe. That was one of the Synology cars just going spinning down on the entry. That was Simon Underhill just cutting across in front of Neil Bamber right there, spinning himself across the front of the nose and collecting a few cars behind him.
Yeah, and still racing going on as we're watching the replay of that right now. Imola very tight. As you were saying, it is quite difficult to find a spot to actually pass right now. One car on pit lane right now, that is Adam Shipstone, the 057. Everyone is just pulling right on through now. They're starting on lap number 2. They're almost halfway through, going past corner number 8 right now is Benjamin Hackeson. And Aeronom doesn't really seem to have anything in this beginning section. And Connery, it has been so long since I have seen GT3 cars proper. Normally I just see the Audis and the McLaren due to the nature of multi-class racing. I have forgotten the size of the flamethrowers off the back of that McLaren as he is trying as hard as he can to get through the chicane just for 11 and 12, but he managed to at the very least right now, Connery be pulling off to a good start.
Yeah, I just saw Euronorm just mess up that chicane horribly right there. That's just dropped him a couple of tenths to Benjamin Hackeson, and I have to say what a pleasure it is to see the McLaren so far at the front of this field, so far at the front that is actually leading the race, and that is actually fantastic to see. And well, Benjamin Hackeson must be grinning inside that helmet right now. But, well, he has to keep his focus right now if he wants to win this race. He has a good gap over Iru Nom right now. That's going to be a second as they come across the line. Most of your field is pretty much single file at this point, at least down towards your top 15 cars. As we have a look at the number 52 of John Cook, he may have an opportunity on the stricken Simon Underhill there, coming down into Tamburello, but he has to push wide into the gravel. He made an absolute mess of that move, and look at how many places he's losing, Cam.
Yeah, it looked like he got well late on the brakes. There's another Mercedes. Apparently the Mercedes not having very good luck here at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari, but he gets out of the gravel trap. It doesn't really look like anything got injured on the 52 car of John Cook. That's important. Plenty of time, a full hour we're going to be doing here. Plenty of time to allow that to come right on back and for him to charge right back through the field, perhaps. But either way, another Mercedes had a little bit of an off-track. Jean Maziva, the 21. But overall, though, other than that, that back of the pack, everyone seems to be doing fairly good. Especially impressive seeing as this track can really bunch people up with how fast you go from high speed to low speed.
Yeah, exactly. And the 28 Daniel Page and the 3 Jason Dilworth were very close coming into the final chicane here at Imola. And again, Jason Dilworth's going to go very deep on the brakes in that BMW coming down into the first Ravazza. And that's kind of his characteristic move, going very, very deep on the brakes, just closing that gap on the entry to the corner. But that's not going to do anything for his exit, which he doesn't get as good of as Daniel Page as they head their way across the start-finish line for the 3rd time. Onto the 4th lap here at Imola. JPW Ringwood behind Jason Dilworth. Actually, he's going to back out the move. He had a little bit of a look coming down into the entry to the sweeper, but then he just backed out of it as there's battling going on for 2nd place right there. That was Craig Parks and Iru Nom, and Iru Nom has lost out on a spot right there, and that was a mistake from Iru Nom. That is very uncharacteristic. The only major one I've seen him make during the course of this whole series was that one at Bathurst.
Well, I have to say it is most likely due to the fact that the only individual that commentates that actually really likes the Fords is here, and he perhaps is a little shy. But you know what? He's making it more dramatic, though, probably. Aeronam, obviously. One of the quick feet in the Fords. That's a tongue twister in itself. He's actually already trying to make the comeback on that Craig Parks 002 Mercedes. It's good to see it's McLaren, Mercedes, Ford, Mercedes, BMW. So pretty much everybody minus the Audi, who is another 2 positions behind being represented in your top 5. They make it through the chicanes once again. The Ford is not really a happy bunny over the curbs, I have to say, and that really doesn't matter what level of balance performance or what tires they manage to bolt onto these things. They just never seem happy over the curbs.
Yeah, not being happy over the curbs is kind of, well, it's a bit of a death sentence here at Imola with such high curves and such, high curves on the chicanes especially. But Aeronam gets a decent exit out of the final Ravazza. He's going to just have a little bit of a draft pass here on Craig Parks, or at least attempt at it. He's going to go towards driver's left-hand side of the track, inside line for Tamburello. He's going to take it down onto the brakes, and he's going to make that pass easily done, as long as he gets it slowed down for the corner, which he does. So this is going to be an interesting fight for 2nd and 3rd place, and this is exactly what Benjamin Hackeson wants at this moment in time. He wants these guys to be fighting, slowing each other down, so he can eke out that gap in the front. Also, you have to remember that it's this close battle between Daniel Page and Jason Dilworth. This is P4, P4, and P5 as they head down onto the brakes into the Tosa hairpin. Also, GPW Ringwood also involved in this one. But right now, with that pass, he passed and then repassed. Craig Parks is still in a great points finishing position here for TMS Motorsport. Of course, TMS Motorsport is that team that is currently 2nd place in the championship, so they need all the points they can get. To close that gap to replace space. And replace space there's no replace space cars in the top 5, top 6, top 7, top 8, or even the top 10 right now. So, they're going to lose a lot of points during the course of this race for the team's championship.
Most certainly, but we are most, I would say most assuredly, should we see a pit stop? I'm not quite certain. I don't think I recall pit stops. Perhaps they do halfway through.
Yeah, we do.
The fuel is limited at 60%. Okay, so I just triple checked that. So, yep, you never know. They could be working towards that pit stop and then pushing the very end. But obviously, it's a pretty tall order when you've got to start making up all that room. The gap as Benjamin Hackeson comes across the line to finish out lap number 5 is a grand total of 4.071 seconds to Aeronam. So Benjamin Hackeson, he is doing a wonderful time in that Synology McLaren.
Yeah, he is, and that's an Aeronom-esque gap that he has right there. 4 seconds with only, 5 laps done. They're on their 6th right now. And, he's looking very, very, very good at this stage in the race. There's Benjamin Hackeson in that McLaren. And, of course, he only just changed to racing that McLaren. Just before this race, in fact, and maybe that change has done some good for him because he was racing the Mercedes. Now he's racing the McLaren. Maybe it's a car that he enjoys just a little bit more and is a little bit quicker in.
Yeah, perhaps over the last couple of weeks there have been some changes and certainly some moves and shakes as far as the GT cars go. And perhaps he had always been more comfortable with the McLaren, but was finding himself in the Mercedes. But now with that McLaren becoming into its own, or maybe it's just an absolute curb killer and he's comfortable with it hopping over those curves. I mean, he was not shy at all about really just romping over those curbs in the chicanes at 11 and 12, the Variante Alta. But either way, though, he is absolutely killing it right now. But we have always got to remember that regardless of what could happen, that McLaren, though, is always on a razor's edge. Anything could happen, especially at a track with curbs, but seems to be very in control as they finish out lap 6.
Yeah, there was some close battling between the 48 of Mike Mason and others. Jonathan Beresford, John Cook, and Ryan Atmore. Mike Mason had to run wide during Aqua Minerale, though. That's just put him down a couple of positions as they head through the final couple of turns. Battling involving the 43 and the 55, JJ Rimmer and Dion Phillips. And, JJ Rimmer's just going to successfully defend his position right there. But there's a group of 3 cars just ahead of these guys. Daniel Page, JPW Ringwood, and Jason Dilworth. Still very, very close on track. And shot to the back bumper from JPW Ringwood on Daniel Page. Both managed to keep it going in the right direction. But JPW Ringwood is going to be very, very eager to get past. I feel like he's being held up a little bit by Daniel Page right there. He's just all over the back bumper as much as he is on the run up to, what is Piratella right now. This medium speed left-hander just before Aqua Minerale. He just dropped down into this relatively complex right-hand corner section of Aqua Minerale. You're basically going downhill, then in the middle of the complex you're going uphill. And then careful of the curb there as well, because you can risk a slowdown penalty if you run too wide because of track limits. But JPW Ringwood, he has to get past relatively soon if he has any chance of catching Craig Parks.
Yeah, I did see a Mercedes get turned around back up there. Neil Bamber, I don't know if he had help, but either way, looking back, he gets sorted out. His car is perfectly fine. He just lost probably 5 or 6 positions. Looking back, that BMW of Jason Dilworth, the 003, he is also really stalking JPW Ringwood, and this is a very hard position to find yourself in. If you, he seems to be able to close at will to Daniel Page. They're going to go across the line. Their last laps was a 44.9 to a 44.6. Between Page and Ringwood, they're going to go across, and it is going to be a 44.5 to a 44.7, so check 1-to-1 as far as Page goes. But for Jason Dilworth, he is sitting right there. He's closing up so close under braking, and he's able to just stay there through acceleration. And that's going to be some trouble for Ringwood. He's either got to catch Page and pass him, or perhaps start defending against Dilworth.
Yeah, he has, as they head their way through was the Villeneuve chicane here at Imola on the run down towards Toso, and while these 3 are just going to stay as they are just for the moment. You have to remember though, JJ Rimmer's tagged onto the back of this 3-car battle as well now, so has Dion Phillips, and Gregory Williams is just there on the tail end, just getting a little bit of the draft off of these guys. So basically this is turned into a 5-car fight for P4, which is certainly very, very interesting. Let's just hope that it doesn't spread out when it comes time for the pit stop, so we can have an absolutely fantastic finish for the end, as they had absolutely nose to tail coming through Aqua Minerale right there, but still no positions being changed, no positions being exchanged between them for now.
Yeah, pacing going on right now, and I think that's a fairly decent thing to get into. It is an hour-long race. A couple of these cars have picked up damage, especially in the back of the field, and that's not what you want to see. But as far as trying to get your pacing going, I mean, Benjamin Hackeson, perhaps he's running a lighter fuel load, plus is more comfortable in that McLaren, or perhaps he just seems to be on it today. I mean, the weather, as far as today goes, isn't anything out of what you would normally see in GT racing. 74 degrees Fahrenheit, 102 on the track, barely any winds coming out of the east, 4 miles an hour, with a bit of 45% humidity, so... Aero Nam, though, he seems to be at least the countering the laps. I mean, a 143 flat to a 143.2. I mean, that's a hair's breadth between these guys, especially when they're pulling a gap almost 1 full second over Craig Parks. lap after lap. But just looking once again to Jason Dilworth, that position number 6 BMW, that 003 action now seeming to really pick up. I think Ringwood is starting to get in the way a little bit of Dilworth. I almost feel like his lap times would fall down, but for Ringwood, it was. I have to say, one of his very fastest laps. He's dipped back into the 143s.
Yep, he has as they head their way through pit, and Jason Dilworth just able to carry much more momentum through that relatively quick left-hander, and just sets him up into a good position for Atco Minerales. You see he's just closing right up to the back of that rear bumper of GP Turner, getting right under the the rear spoiler of that AMG Mercedes right there, just getting the nose of the BMW right underneath as they head their way down onto the brakes for the high curbs of the final chicane here at Imola. And GPW Ringer just got a little bit tail happy coming out of there, just not able to get the traction down as effectively as he perhaps hoped. But well, it's not going to affect him too much since Jason Dilworth didn't really capitalize. Jason Dilworth deep on the brakes coming into the first part of Ravazza, still not able to capitalize. But he may have a chance coming down into Tamburello if he can get a good exit here, which he does not get, and the draft isn't going to help him as much as it did previously. Of course, iRacing have changed the balance of power a little bit and changed the physics of these cars a little bit so that the the draft isn't as effective as it once was, and Jason Dilworth is kind of hoping that they would revert to the last patch at this moment to get that draft back.
Yeah, just trying to tuck in. Normally these cars would really suck up behind each other, those gigantic wings normally helping through. Just change a little bit how that works. As Ringwood now once again closed up the page. It seems like these guys are alternating who is on it as far as the laps go. A little bit of a bump, 2, 3, 4 bumps. Hello, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. I've got a BMW, now he's on the outside. Are they gonna door each other? No, they are not going through. Corner number 7, it was a very slow corner. Now they work their way towards 8. It just winds a little bit to the right here, then cuts to the left, and here they go, 8 and 9 as they get down through the gears. Here comes Ringwood, then Dilworth, and also now this is allowing JJ Rimmer to start entering the picture, and your front-running Audi, which is Dion Phillips, the 043, is getting a great view of this action, and he's hoping if it can continue, maybe he can make some positions as well.
Yeah, exactly. You've just seen this battle close up yet again to involve all 5 of these cars at the moment for the battle for P4 as they snake their way like a train coming through a Variante Alta. Again, this has been a theme over the course of this race, and of course over the course of many races here, is that even if you're faster, there aren't really all that many places to try and make a pass, and I think that's what JPW Ringwood and Jason Dilworth right now are falling victim to. Is they definitely have the pace. Jason Dilworth has the pace over JPW and Daniel Page. JPW has the pace over Daniel Page, but they're just not able to do anything with it at this stage in the race.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of trying to find your spots and use your opportunity. I think that these guys could be more aggressive, especially just basically throughout the entirety of the field in a general sense. I mean, I've been looking through, obviously, quite a good couple of duels going on, alternate to our battle for 3, 4, and 5. But just looking through, I mean, everyone seems to be just keeping their lines, and that's an important part of this, because with any GT racing, is the BMW still just harassing the Mercedes of Ringwood. You want to continue to have your good laps and keep your good lap times, because if anything happened, like Craig Parks, who has just well overdone the corner, that 002 car, he well overdid the corner. He's going to lose some time, not a ton, but some. Certainly not to overcome the almost 7-second gap between him and Daniel Page, but if somebody else was able to get by and really start tackling and pushing, I wouldn't be too surprised to see another car other than that Mercedes' Daniel Page up front at some point.
Yep, as they head their way onto the brakes for Variante Alta again, absolutely nose to tail, and they're just, they're not giving, they are giving each other space in a sense, but not all that much as they head their way out of that particular section of racetrack down the hill towards the final Ravazzas. Now all stay in line. Jason Dilworth doing his character, just very deep on the brakes. JPW Ringwood almost runs into the back of Daniel Page right there, but manages to get it stopped before that happens as they head their way out of the final corner. For the 11th time heading on to lap number 12, GPW Ringwood may have an opportunity coming down into Tamburello, turn number 1 here. If he can position his car correctly, he's going to have to be forced around the outside. Daniel Page is going to take that defensive inside line coming down into Tamburello. GPW Ringwood very deep on the brakes as they head too wide through Tamburello. They're still too wide for the second section of it. Here comes Jason Dilworth as well. He's smelling blood as well. That's just slowed these two cars up front considerably. Here comes JJ Rimmer on Jason Dilworth, this time heading their way down into the Villeneuve chicane. Oh, he's going to get 2 tires on the grass. That's going to cancel out whatever move he was thinking of at that moment in time. Heading down towards Tosa now. Will JPW Rimmer sling one down the inside? He does attempt it, but the door was shut right there, and Jason Dilworth is going to have a little bit of an opportunity, maybe coming on the exit, but no, he's just going to get a little bit of wheel spin, maybe not able to get the traction down as effectively as JPW Ringwood did, as he's going to follow very closely coming to the left-hander of Piratella. Will he sling one down the inside? Acco Minerale is going to be a very hopeful move if he does, but no, he just sticks behind right now, just being very, very big in JPW Ringwood's mirrors at the moment, Cam.
Yeah, a lot of harassing and heckling going on. JJ Rimmer enjoying this. Dion Phillips is now caught up, so add another 2 to this battle as these guys are continuing right now throughout lap 12 and on to lap number 13. They will come for Daniel Page. I have to say, this is a bit of a hard one. What can you do? You're trying to do your lines as tough as you can. He tried to keep his line, but JPW Ringwood is right on him, and actually I think might have damaged his front bumper going over those curbs heartedly, and then obviously they doored each other just a smidge, so some minor damage on the left side of that Mercedes. I think they both can keep on going. The overspeed now going to the Mercedes, driving them to the grass, and now they are going to go into corner number 2, 3, and 4, side by side, the outside going to the 054, but it gets closed up by Daniel Page. And actually, fairly interestingly enough, Jason Dilworth is now having a go on the defensive with that 055 of JJ Rimmer.
Yeah, the 55's gonna, he has a look on the inside coming into Villeneuve chicane, but backs out of it last minute. So basically 2 battles in one picture right now for you here in the Synology GT3 Championship. Here comes JJ Rimmer almost down the inside of Jason Dilworth at Tosa, but not able to capitalize on that opportunity. And if you're Dion Phillips and to an extent Craig A. Williams here, surely you just stay behind and just watch these guys fight for the moment, and then take whatever opportunity arises if they push each other off the track or something like that.
Yeah, and opportunities will arise if these guys keep racing like this. They've already gone at it door to door probably 3 or 4 times now, and they certainly leave the lines open, as it were. They seem to be leaning, at least Ringwood seems to be leaning and trying to telepath his moves, perhaps trying to get into the head of Daniel Page, leaning to the inside, even though he doesn't seem to be on the jump or on the attack, just to constantly have in the mirrors, hey, I'm here, I intend to go by you at some point in the near future, just in case you were wondering. And he is certainly not happy to be sitting back in the 5th position as they are rounding out the first 20 minutes of this race. And just like that, 22 minutes gone as they go past the start-finish line one more time. But for Ringwood, I mean, just how aggressive do you want to push it? He's already hurt the car a little bit. How much more do you want to go before you start perhaps trying to figure out the pit strategy and seeing out whereabouts you could go to either get some clean space to prove your lap times or to risk not damaging the car?
Yeah, as he actually gets a good run coming out of the Tamburello chicane, heads his way down the inside. Daniel Page is only going to leave one space, one car's width of space on the inside, so they head their way too wide coming through there. That's GPW Ringwood going to be in the gravel. That's going to put Jason Dilworth up one spot right here, and maybe Jason Dilworth can do something about Daniel Page in front of him in that Team Bushring Racing AMG Mercedes, as Jason Dilworth gets a decent slide coming out of Tosa. That's definitely not going to help his tire heat yet at all, but that gap at the front, though, has been dropping like a rock. Aeronom only now, 1.7 seconds behind your race leader in Benjamin Hackeson. That's one we have to keep an eye on. This is mostly because of the traffic that they have to negotiate at this stage. Looking through the rest of your field, though, it is going to be that massive train, though, for P4 that we have going on right now between Page, Dilworth, Ringwood, Rimmer, Phillips and Craig A. Williams. Might as well Delden even tag onto the back of this train if they slow up even more. So basically one big train for the whole of the second half of your top 10 right now. Having a look down through the field behind that is a two-car battle between Paul Walmsley and Neil Bamber. That could be interesting, as well as Neil Bamber may have an opportunity coming down into the final revatas, but no, he's just going to back out of that move. Looking even further down your field, in fact, well, it's mostly single file with cars spread out, so these are the only battles that we should really be paying attention to right now. As here comes JPW Ringwood in number 54, maybe looking around the outside of Dilworth, but Dilworth takes a defensive line, just rides the back bumper of Daniel Page coming through there. Can he do what JPW Ringwood could not do? And that doesn't look like it's going to be the case for now. If he gets runs out of corners like that, JPW Ringwood just closing up to the back. Here comes Dilworth onto the back of Daniel Page as well. And, Daniel Page, he probably has to get his rear bumper repaired at some point during this race. But the amount of taps that people have been giving to the back of it as they head their way, nose to tail coming through Tosa, Lee Bunker and Taylor Lane, they're dropping back through the field right now. Bunker has some pretty substantial damage to the back of that GT3 machine right now. That was the it wasn't caused by the battle with Soren Cruz, but there was further contact in the battle of between himself and Soren Cruz right there, and that is going to put a damper on those two drivers' races for sure, as we're heading towards the pit stops now, Cam, and this could change everything, especially for this fight for P number 4, 5, 6, and 7.
And as the battle for P4, 5, 6, and 7 kick off, the battle for position number 1 is starting to come into play. A couple of slow laps from Benjamin Hackeson is starting to accrue, and Aero Nam is starting to come into play here. He has caught in a sense of where they are actually dueling, because obviously Benjamin Hackeson had built out a huge gap. I think it was at some point 4 to 5 seconds, and is now nothing but 0.008. As a couple of cars lean to the inside to pit. The BMW of Jason Dilworth, I guess I should say, is the only one to lean so far. Looking back, Dion Phillips, the 043, the Audi, is now attacking JJ Rimmer. This whole pack is starting to close up, and they add another challenger, Craig A. Williams in the Mercedes.
Yeah, but it'd be interesting to see, how Jason Dilworth's strategy plays out right here, getting out of this battle and choosing to come down pit road to top off that field to the end, as Dion Phillips is going to push a little bit wide during the middle of the Villeneuve chicane. They're going to head side by side, coming down onto the brakes, coming into the Tosa hairpin. It's basically, changing gradient hairpin, going up the hill. Craig A. Williams is just going to have to fall behind yet again for now. But as I was saying, it'll be interesting to see when all of the rest of these guys pit, where Jason Dilworth is going to come out in terms of this battle. It may have been a good decision to take himself out of this fight, get himself in some clear air, and then maybe once these guys come into pit, he'll finish out ahead.
Yeah, most definitely. That BMW, I think, once he gets into some clean air, I can see how the BMW can really push itself around. As well as there's a Lee Bunker, another Mercedes is on the pits as well. But it's been an exciting battle. This first half of the race, the first section here, really, I guess the first almost half of the race, has been absolutely outstanding between Daniel Page, JPW Ringwood, and the BMW. That was, of course, looking down the list now. I can't think off the top of my head who that might have been. But either way, they're going to come into the pits. JJ Rimmer will be, as well as Craig A. Williams. So our BMW driver, who is officially Jason Dilworth, I should have recalled. Perhaps we'll see where this BMW comes out compared to these guys.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if, the rest of the field is going to stream by on that pit straight. Soren Cruz had a little bit of a think about coming down into pit road, but where is Jason Dilworth right now? He's just going to head his way out of Variante Alta. He's just coming down into the braking zone, the downhill braking zone of the final two revatas here at this Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari and we'll have to see where he comes out in terms of the cars down pit road right now. There goes JJ Rimmer and Craig A. Williams. They have both finished their pit services. Here comes Jason Dilworth coming down the pit straight. He's just coming across the start-finish line right now, and I think he'll be comfortably ahead of these guys as they head their way out of pit road. There he goes, and then JJ Rimmer, Craig A. Williams are going to fall in right behind him, and that's around about a second or so advantage that Jason Dilworth has over those cars right now. So that'll be very interesting when Daniel Page, JPW Ringwood, and Dion Phillips decide to head their way down pit road, because also these guys are currently having to deal with traffic. Dave White and Leah Bunker, they're going to cause a little bit of a roadblock, and there's Rick Fowler as well. They're going to be a little bit of lap traffic that these guys have to negotiate coming down into the Ravatas. He's going to be very slow on the entry. That's kind of a dangerous place to slow down. Here comes JPW Ringwood almost down the inside. There's a car off ahead of them. That's Dave White, and he's going to stop in the middle of the apex, and don't do that. That's going to cause a concertina effect right behind, and he's going to block coming down into pit road as well. Daniel Page can't be happy as they come too wide coming down the pit straight. Dion Phillips and the driver of JPW Ringwood going to head their way too wide coming down the pit straight. Dion Phillips is going to get that position over JPW Ringwood, perhaps stricken with that damage to the front end of that Mercedes.
The Audi coming into its own. Craig Parks is still out there, as well as your two cars that are in the front, Benjamin Hackeson and Aero Nam, so we'll see when they come in. But that was actually a very impressive pass on that lap car from Daniel Page going into the pits. He managed to pull out and around through the pits before getting on your pit limiter and slowing down to the required speed. So good save there from Daniel Page. He should get out in front of Dave White. Yes, he does. So no worries for lap traffic there as that Mercedes of Daniel Page gets out. But I have to say, whereabouts are the other cars? There is a Mercedes. There is a BMW of Jason Dilworth. Daniel Page is actually going to lose a position to Jason Dilworth. You have to wonder, was that because of the lap cars, or was that because Dilworth was just that much faster in the open space? But right now, for Jason Dilworth, you got to start worrying a little bit there. It's the 028, the 055, the 042. They are all teammates.
Yeah, they are, and I kind of want to go back to that instant, in fact, and there's one thing you don't do as a laps guy. It's basically the golden rule, is slow down on the apex of the corner, and that's exactly what Dave White did right there. Caused a little bit of a concertina effect behind, and well, you're better off just staying ahead in those situations and then pulling out of the way during the straight. But there we go, that instant is all said and done now. Perhaps we should all learn from it, as JPW Ringwood's going to stay out at least one extra lap. Dion Phillips is going to stay out at least one extra lap as well. Most of the leaders down to around about P16 have not headed their way down pit road at this moment in time. But that battle is starting to fluctuate at the front. It was down to around about half a second, 0.4 of a second at one point. It's back up to 0.8 of a second. But Aeronom is still well within the shout here.
Yeah, and that's the battle for what was 4th, 5th, and 6th is still going on. Rick Fowler has now let Jason Dilworth, Daniel Page, JJ Rimmer, and Craig A. Williams through as best as he can without really impinging his own time. That's what you want to see. I'm not a huge fan of people just pulling over and letting out the red carpet. So I like to see it when the lead cars are actually running right through. And I have to look, where is the front couple of cars? That is going to be Benjamin Hackeson still, and Aero Nam. Benjamin Hackeson coming off of an amazing qualifying session in that 001 car. He is doing fantastic. Will they come in this time? They come off of corner number 15 of Ravaza. They go past 16, very loose on the exit. Nope, they will both decide to stay out. So, Connery, I have a feeling that these guys are going to be draining the tanks here as much as they can before their pit stop. And for Aero Nam and Benjamin Hackeson, they are just about alone because Craig Parks is, well out of the picture. And then you've got cars that have already pitted. So those two cars very, very much ahead.
Yeah, just to put that into a little bit of perspective, Craig Parks is currently around about 14 seconds behind your race lead as JPW Ringwood finally decides to head his way down pit road. And, well, Dion Phillips is still out there on track. He has some lap traffic to deal with, so maybe coming down that time by might have been a better decision if he gets held up a little bit here. But, well, it's all quietened down just a little bit after this, well, during this pit cycle. Right now, not really all that close battles on track, except for the one between the 21 of Jan Miltsever and Daniel Page. Daniel Page has already come down pit road, and Jan Miltsever perhaps not right now, as Daniel Page desperate to find a way by just so it doesn't compromise his strategy in his battle between himself and Jason Dilworth and Dion Phillips and others, as well, Jan Miltsever is just going to pull towards driver's left-hand side of the track. Daniel Page is going to have the overspeed coming across the start-finish line here. A couple more cars down pit road. Mike Mason, Ryan Atmore down pit road. As there's bump drafting Team Bushman cars behind them. That was JJ Rimmer and Craig A. Williams getting very, very close. They are coming down into the braking zone off Tamburello right now, and there's loads of contact going on between these drivers, and well, they keep pointing in the right direction. Just some bumper damage, some superficial bumper damage, shall we say, as Jan Miltzer is going to hold up pretty much all three Team Bushwick Racing GT3 cars right there. They can't be happy right now, but can I just say, well, bump drafting is for NASCAR super speedway tracks, not Imola.
No, and Mercedes. That's part of the rules. And Benjamin Hackeson and Iro Nam has come into the pit lane. And I have to say there shouldn't have been any surprise there that Mercedes, a teammate of that BMW of Dilworth. So I'm not trying to say that he was intentionally trying to hold them up, but well, no need to make it easy on the competition, I suppose, as he did his one little defend, and then immediately got out of the way for the rest of that Bushfink pack. Now just looking at it's the Bushfink Ford of Iro Nam going on pace speed, watching Benjamin Hackeson. Quite the exit in his McLaren. He seems to have quite the gap as they are dealing right now pretty much all on their own. You'll get the lap times as they come through. But Craig Parks currently your leader in that TMS Motorsport Mercedes, but not for long. He's going to have to come to the pits.
He is as well. Positions are chopping and changing right now as people come down pit road. Matthijs van Delden, Paul Wormsley, Taylor Lane, Simon Jackson, all down pit road as well. There was a bit of a battle between Dion Phillips and Daniel Page there, and Jason Dilworth. And Jason Dilworth has definitely capitalized on well, his pit strategy, just coming into the pits early and just refusing to fight with those guys, preferring to run into clean air. And well, he's just reaped the benefits of that right now. He's well ahead of Sauron Cruz, well ahead of Daniel Page, who was struggling for the longest time at the start of this race, trying to get by him. Well, now he's well in front of him by a couple of seconds. Perhaps can focus on perhaps chasing down Craig Parks when he comes down pit road, which he does this lap. Will Neil Bamber come down pit road is the question as well. He's coming down through the final reverse. So surely the fuel tanks on these GT3 cars can't go for that much further, Cam.
Now they are 60% limited per tank. That means that they've filled it with the plastic floaty balls, so there's less space in the tank. As here he is on his pit stop. Neil Bamber, another car that needed to come down pit road, is doing as such. Where is our current leaders? Here comes Iro Nam across the start-finish line. There goes Benjamin Hackeson after the pit exit. So going to be dropping down Craig Parks quite a while. As he is just about to exit the pit lane. I almost wonder where he is going to come as far as Jason Dilworth is concerned, as here he comes. He is getting up through one gear, through two gears, and the BMW just passing the start-finish line now. So Jason Dilworth, very smart decision to come into that. He was getting caught up in that battle. He tried to make one or two moves and realized, well, look, if I can't get by, I might as well pit at earliest opportunity. That's what he's done. And for Jason Dilworth, and really for Dion Phillips, he's worked his way up through the pits as well at Audi that is in pursuit. This is quickly tightening up.
Yeah, and that could have well been the defining moment of Jason Dilworth's race, just deciding to come in early, and look at where that has put him right now. Currently P5, is going to be P4 once Alan McCain heads his way down pit road, as Bram Reniers is perhaps having a little bit of trouble right there, I suspect. Yeah, he's going very slow on the exit of the Tamburello chicane. Yep, he had a little bit of a spin coming out there. That was it a little bit of contact with Simon Underhill? Maybe. Well, the jury's going to be out on that one, but Bram Renier's not having the best of races right now. He was P12. He's going to drop quite a few positions as a result of that.
Yeah, and it is just, if it's not one thing, it is another. And especially at a circuit like this, I mean, we did see, at least back in the high 20s, low 30s, there was quite a bit of contact at the start of this race. And for that 035 car, that was just a bit of a tough one for Bram Reniers, as they are still continuing right now that Torque Freak Racing, especially with the colors, the orange and the blue. That's an easy one for me to tell, not being a native to the Synology GT3 championship, unlike you, Connery, but just rolling through it right now. These guys are just sort of settling themselves in. They're letting the time tick on down. That's what you want to see. And for Benjamin Hackeson, he's working around lap traffic. There goes Rick Fowler, finding himself once again. And Aeronam now is going to find himself trying to get right on through. And for Hackeson, well, he's got to be decisive and he's got to be deliberate in his passing.
Yeah, and that was actually a good pit stop cycle for Benjamin Hackeson coming into the pits. He was around about 0.7 of a second, well, ahead of Aeronam. He's now extended that to be around about 1.2 seconds, but this battle is still one we definitely have to be keeping an eye on. One simple mistake from Benjamin Hackeson can put him under threat from that Ford GT of Aeronam. And, well, Benjamin Hackeson's basically chasing his first win this year in the series. Of course, he won last year's championship, but still yet to score a win here in this 2017 Synology GT3 Championship season, brought to you by TMS Motorsport, and is, well, just behind sort of John Cook right there. There's a car having issues, and yes, it is. It's Martin Galenki, number 13 car, having major issues during one of the chicanes right there to span himself into the gravel trap. This is after Tamburello chicane, which is the first chicane here at Imola. Well, he got too much to the curb, and that just broke the back end of the car away and had a little bit of a trip through the gravel.
Very easy to do with these bigger Mercedes cars. They tend to not have per se, especially that second one. The second one is basically concrete blips, really, more than curbs. But it's fairly easy, especially in a car like this. Not a ton of setup options on that Mercedes. The others might be able to tune the bumps out, but the Mercedes, they try to keep it a little simpler, and not to say it's lesser or less quick, but he might not be able to adapt to something like the heavy curbs.
Yeah, I was just about to mention the 43 and the 3. They were just battling coming down into the first corner, and Dion Phillips has now managed to get himself ahead of Jason Dilworth, and Jason Dilworth kind of has to be fed up with seeing the rear bumpers of cars right now, because he's just going to have to deal with another one again of the Audi of Dion Phillips. Again, he's just going to have to try it like he did at the start of this race, just try and find some way around, and oh, he's going to hit the tire barriers on the inside wall right there, damage to the left-hand side of that BMW, but struggling to get traction on that curb right there. And well, we've seen that during the course of this race from Jason Dilworth, getting a little bit tail happy coming out of Tosa, and he's paid the price right there. Damage to the left hand side of that BMW, not terminal, but it's going to put him down a couple of tenths at least.
Yeah, the car transitioned over the curbing during acceleration, the black and white striped stuff. He would be fine if he would have just went to the other side or went to stayed on the pavement, but because it slowly drifted during acceleration, it slipped. Once it broke traction through the minute difference, I mean, we're talking about inches between the curbing and the green tarmac surface, they immediately broke traction. Great job slowing that car down and steering it away from the tire barrier. It is just some damage on the front bumper. We'll see what he can salvage, but he is going to be dropped from 4th back down to 9th. And that has allowed Daniel Page, JJ Rimmer, and Craig A. Williams to slide on by, as well as Matthijs Van Delden in that 008 McLaren.
Yep, and perhaps fortunate for the well, for the rest of the drivers on track that the well, the new damage model that Steve Myers has teased on his Twitter page is not in effect here currently. Otherwise, there'll be a bit of debris stranded all over the racetrack, but not for now at least. Well, hashtag soon, I guess. But, well, there's going to be about 16 minutes and 40 seconds left in this race right now, all because of headed their way down pit road for their one and only mandatory fuel stop right there. Gap at the front is 1.8 seconds between Benjamin Hackeson and Iru Nom. Benjamin Hackeson putting in a good final, well, couple of laps here to just pull that gap out from what was about half a second before the pit stops. Well, that's up at least 1 second now, and he's looking very, very good for the end of this race. Looking back towards Craig Parks, he is basically in no man's land, 20 seconds behind the leader and 13 seconds ahead of Dion Phillips. But, well, Dion Phillips now has managed to pull a little bit of a gap over Daniel Page, but looking at the lap times, Daniel Page was around about 0.5 of a second faster that time by. Of course, when I say he's pulled out a gap, that is all relative and not on one lap pace. But Daniel Page, if he can put together some great laps like that, maybe he can challenge for what is going to be a P4 at the end of this race. Looking at your big movers in the field, though, at least inside of your top 20, it is going to be Mike Mason up 8 positions on his qualifying time to end up in his current 18th spot right there. Inside the top 10, though, it's going to be a three-way tie between Dion Phillips, Martins van Delden, and Simon Underhill for your biggest mover inside your top 10. As the race has just stagnated a little bit right now. Well, that battle between Jason Dilliff and Dion Phillips is the main one we are watching, but since Jason Dilliff put it into their tyre barriers, well, that one hasn't been one to talk about as Jason Dilliff falls behind a little bit. But, well, pretty action-packed first 3 quarters of this race, Cam.
Yeah, just about to tick to 15 minutes remaining on the racing circus here at Imola. But for Dilworth, his lap times are 0.3 of a second faster than the McLaren in front of him of Mathias van Delden. So perhaps we could see as time goes on that that BMW is starting to catch, but you never know. That's going to be very difficult to pass when you really just got loose air instead of formed air forcing downforce, as he actually passes his teammate of Chris Butteril, the 015 car, who had a spin there, as the Mercedes will cycle on back 1 lap down. They're not that far behind the trio of Mercedes of Bushrank and the Bushrank boys. It's a bit tough. They're running fair laps, but the only one that really has given a shout to Dion Phillips' lap times has been Craig Williams. But the problem is he's the 3rd car in that pack, and actually quite a ways off of the front 2 Mercedes. So we'll see how they develop that, how they work together to hunt down the 4-ringed menace that is the Audi R8 GT3 car, but the LMS. But either way, it's been running fairly good, and as long as Craig Parks can keep his car nice and clean, he should be okay.
Yeah, it was actually, you just saw JJ Rimmer make his way down the inside of Daniel Page. So teammates putting that teammate label aside, at least just for now, as Daniel Page looks to reply, coming down into the Villeneuve chicane on his teammate of JJ Rimmer. He's going to be relatively unsuccessful in that endeavor, and we kind of have to remind ourselves at this point is that Team Bushrank Racing technically isn't a team that qualifies for points during the course of this series. All of their drivers are, well, privateers. So, well, they can't really form a team because you have to satisfy rules with how many drivers are in the Pro category, how many drivers are in the AM category, how many privateers that you can have. But, well, yeah, so if Team Bushrank Racing do compete for a second season, then they perhaps can form a team at that point. And then they maybe are forced to be reckoned with coming into the 2018 Synology GT3 Championships. But for now, since this isn't for team points, Daniel Page and JT Rimmer can fight to their heart's content and not worry, well, not worry as much about taking each other out, since there is no points on the table for that particular team. But maybe they can give us an exciting finish here at Imola, as we have around about 12 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Battle for P6 and, well, P5 and 6 is the one we're watching right now between 2 teammates.
Yeah, most certainly. It has been a good battle. They've been racing each other nice and clean, just waiting to see which one comes right on through, though. Daniel Page, that 028 car, is on the headlights, whatever that means. Perhaps they're going to rotate positions. Well, I wouldn't say that was too strange of an idea, but for JJ Rimmer, he ran almost 0.3 of a second faster than Daniel Page. So if Daniel Page was expecting the red carpet to be rolled out to let him on by, I'm not quite sure why that would have happened, but either way, Page is starting. I think they've realized that perhaps Dion Phillips is going to be out of the way, and Daniel Page wants to see what he can do out in front, as he is, I don't really think he has had a lap on his own. He has always had either cars in front or behind, so he is getting a workout as well as his Mercedes AMG GT3 car, but either way, good running from them. I think he's probably going to be tired after this one, but I think he's starting to run out of a little bit of patience trying to get around JJ Rimmer.
Yeah, there was a battle just a little bit further down your field for the just inside of the top 20. This is between 27 of Taylor Lane and the 48 of Mike Mason in that Grip TV machine right there. And Taylor Lane in that, well, Scottish saltire roof Audi right there. And they're going to head their way through Tosa. And that was actually Taylor Lane into Tamarello, who managed to get past Mike Mason. And he's going to start to pull a little bit of a gap right now as he does that between the two Audis. So, well, no difference in car manufacturer, car model right here. This is pure setup and driver skill, and Taylor Lane's just able to get away just bit by bit coming through Acqua Minerale.
Yeah, and as they roll on through, this Imola circuit, it has actually been quite racy, at least as far as the duels go. There's a pair of Audis as they work through 11 and 12 of Taylor Lane and Mike Mason as well, as they have just gone through, Acqua Minerale. See, I'm not necessarily that great at pronouncing these lovely words and corner names here at Autodromo Enzo E. Dino Ferrari. I got the last one right, but and that one's a fairly easy one, Mr. Conrad-Matic, to get correct. But for those pair of Audis for Tyler Lane and Mike Mason, well, we'll see what they can do. I think they are just out of the range. Hello, Leo. That is Leonardo Kitty Cat announcing himself by rubbing his head on it. But I'm not sure if they have the time to chase down Simon Jackson, but we'll see. The lap times are in their favor by almost a full second.
Yeah, they are, and don't tell Will, but we might have RaceBot Cat 2.0 as, well, Cam's Cat joins us in the booth. Yeah.
He's just Leo.
Well, since this is a little bit of a lull in the race, maybe we can have a little bit of a look at the Drivers' Points Championship right now. Currently is Iru Nom as it stands at the front of the rest of the field in terms of the drivers' standings. That looks like it's going to be the case at the end of this race as well, as the only driver that's, the thing is, he's not eligible for any prize money since he is a privateer. The person that is in the effectively delivering the championship right now in terms of prize money, it's going to be a Barry Baird for that replace base team. I don't think he's actually in the field here today, so he's going to take one drop week, one of 4 that they're allowed to take, and also Tony Baird as well. His brother also not in the field, so maybe they're on some sort of family vacation or something like that. Then it's going to be Neil Bamber and then Craig Parks that's going to be rounding out the top 5 in your Drivers' Championship. For your team's championship, though, it is going to be replace base, well, at least before this race, at the top of the field. And that one, then TMS Motorsport, Bodine Solutions, Synology, Seagate, and then Acorn Printing is going to round out the team's championship right now. But this battle between these 3 Bushfink cars is getting ever hotter, and it's going to be a little bit of lap traffic of Rick Fowler ahead of them. That's maybe going to spice this one up a little bit between the 3 orange and black clad drivers.
Yeah, certainly so. Quite a couple of retirements. We had a couple right off the bat. Lee Woodburn didn't start. Jason Withrow, Anthony Marsh, and Royal Hoban were all retirements. Ryan D. Walker followed, and then were followed up by that BMW Fowler. But I have to say, he's getting plenty of action as he is letting the trio of the Bushfink Mercedes trio right on through. as that was some good maneuvering there, and now he's going to let the Mercedes go on by, the BMW of Jason Dilworth roll on through, and that's a little close, but that's how, for the most part, you want to get it done. You want to get it done, especially when it's a train of cars late in a race. You want to get it done as easy as possible, and I have to say, Connery, if there is one thing I am experienced in, it is letting faster cars go past me.
Same. And that's the kind of thing between commentators. Because we aren't fast on the racetrack, we decide to do this job. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I like to say that I can't really speak on that matter, but either way, it's good to at least sound like I know what I'm talking about, when really my only experience is, in fact, obeying the blue flag.
Yeah, man, of course, that particular rule of commentators being bad at racing is kind of, well, you have to know it for Hugo Luis, well, World Championship Grand Prix Series winner, currently behind the cameras right now. But looking back towards this race that we have going on right here, 6 minutes, 10 seconds remaining. Again, come on, these Bushfin guys, you're going to have to fight it out for us at the end of this race for those P5, 6, and 7 positions. As, well, they may be looking first and foremost to maybe catch the Audi of Dion Phillips ahead of them, but that objective is looking pretty dire at this stage in the race, since Dion Phillips is pretty much matching their lap times as he heads his way around the lap traffic of Dave White, right there, heading down into Variante Alta. But Dave White's just going to get caught in between those two bits of guards right there, Dion Phillips and the rest of the Bush Racing team. But he's going to pull towards the left-hand side of the track and perhaps let JJ Rimmer by, as he's going to be a little bit difficult right there. JJ Rimmer not entirely happy with the way that pass was negotiated. And there's a little bit of contact right behind them. Dave White gets into the left-hand side of that car of Craig Williams. And, well, they both managed to, well, I don't think Dave White managed to keep it on the racetrack. He had to go off a little bit off of line. But that is the second incident that Dave White has caused while being lap traffic at this stage, Cam.
Sometimes it is just tough, obviously, well, down 2 laps down, but it is a bit tough to sometimes try and find your way right on through. Other times it can just be perhaps taking it away and learning how to let other cars go on through better, and sometimes it's just letting the other cars through easier. I mean, it was a tricky spot where that was, but you also have to look, Connery, we do have some action between the Synology McLaren of Benjamin Hackeson, the 001, and Aero Nom, who seemed to have picked up a bit of front-end damage from his Ford, perhaps from a curb.
Maybe, and there's a little bit of traffic ahead of them. I say a little bit, it's actually quite a lot, as 3 cars on the tail end of the lead lap, right ahead of Benjamin Hackeson, as Hackeson gets the back end out during the course of the final Ravazza. Adam Shipton is going to perhaps get well out of the way, pulling way towards the left-hand side of the track, just lifting out the throttle to let Hackeson and Aeronom by, but Benjamin Hackeson has to hope that the rest of this traffic is as courteous as Adam Shipstone was right there, as Aeronom definitely has an opportunity at this point in the race to take yet another win in this series, and Benjamin Hackson's going to be desperate not to let that happen, but first he has to have the traffic play nice with him.
Certainly it has to fall his way. Any one of these cars could pull out at the wrong time, and that Ford GT could be on Hackinson. And actually, it might be just be doing it on his own, as he was, well, he got well late in the brakes. Aeronom did in that 041. He's trying to hunt down Benjamin Hackison. If there's one thing I would be concerned at, is if they do end up through, is that that GT3 massive tail slide going through the corners of Piratala. But I have to say, if they continue to go like this, another slide from the Ford as they go around, well, I mean, that's one way to go around a car when they literally pull completely off the racing surface onto the grass for you. But if there's one thing I know about these GT3 cars, that a pressured McLaren tends to make mistakes like that massive tail slide, I guess I should say. Spin involves 360s, but the McLaren, Connery, with how much it dances and how much it's on a razor's edge, when you start pressuring the driver, things can happen.
They really can, as Aeronorm only a couple of tenths of a second behind your race leader at this point, and Benjamin Hackeson has to take a little bit of a trip across the grass right there. That's just going to lose him a little bit of momentum. They're going to have around about 2 minutes 18 seconds as they head their way across the line. So by my reckoning, that's around about that's going to be 2 laps left in this race, isn't it, Cam? So they're going to head their way on the brakes, coming through Tamburello corner. Still yet more lap traffic. At least it's a teammate of Benjamin Hackeson. That's Jonathan Beresford as well. Is going to be the next one that's going to be down the road for Benjamin Hackeson to make his way by.
Yeah, and it's just trying to line it up now. Could perhaps Beresford, the Mercedes that is the teammate, do something that we saw similar with the teammate of Dilworth, where it not be too necessarily polite to the opposing Ford GT of Aeronom, especially with this late in the race. Nope, he's going to do the absolute sporting thing. Jonathan Beresford manages to pull right off the racing surface and not even lose that much time, and that allows this great lead battle that we have been waiting for all race long, with only about 2 laps to go, Connery, to hopefully come to a head.
Yeah, meanwhile, there was a little bit of a battle going on between the cars of GPW Ringland in number 54 and Bram Reneers in the number 35, as Bram Reneers may have an opportunity coming down into the Tamburello to try and get back past JPW Ringwood, since JPW Ringwood did pass Bram Reneers on that last lap. So JPW Ringwood on a little bit of a recovery drive at this point. He's still 7 positions down on his qualifying effort, as that gap in the front is just going to extend just a little bit more, which is not what Eru normally needs. And they're going to be taking the white flag this time by. There's 37 seconds still remaining on the clock. That means the white flag is going to be shown at the start of the stand. Just one more lap for Benjamin Hackeson, and he's going to take his first win of the season here in the 2017 Synology GT3 Championship, brought to you by TMS Motorsport. Meanwhile, though, Taylor Lane and I believe that was Simon Jackson, they were having a little bit of a battle right there, but Taylor Lane's just going to pull out a little bit of a gap, as he did before. Having a look back towards where those Team Bushring Racing cars they're heading their way through the final Rivatsa right now, and they're going to go and take the white flag this time by, and let's just hope they're going to have a little bit of a fight over those positions come towards the final lap of this race. Looking back towards the front of your field, though, it is still Benjamin Hackeson versus Eru Nom. Just 1/2 of a lap to go once they come up to Aqua Minerale, which we're coming up to right now, the double right-hander. There's a little bit of lap traffic ahead that Benjamin Hackeson may have to be concerned about. That's John Cook on the tail end of the lead lap right now. Just 1 chicane and basically 2 left-handers to go for Benjamin Hackeson, and he will get his first win in the 2017 Synology GT3 Championship, as Aeronom's just going to skip way over those curves right there. I'd be surprised if he doesn't get a slowdown penalty, but it looks like he doesn't, because he's pretty much 100% throttle right now, but that gap is looking pretty insurmountable right now. Aeronom's going to go very deep on the brake, trying to find as much time as possible coming through the final Rivatsas, but it's not going to work, and Benjamin Hackeson is going to power out of the corner. No need to worry about the lap traffic, and Benjamin Hackeson, previous season winner, will take his first race win in his 2017 Synology GT3 Championship season.
Outstanding. The man in the purple fire suit manages to pull it out of the fire, which is coming out of the back of that McLaren, not because it's on fire, because he's let off the throttle. And looking through now back, perhaps we'll see where is Daniel Page and JJ Runner.
54, JPW Ringwood in the gravel, stopped. What has happened there? As he ran out of fuel, was there contact with Bram Reneers? Well, there's a little bit of shots to the back bumper from Bram Reneers, but it looks like JPW Ringwood had run out of fuel.
Yep, run out of fuel, ran the tank dry, as here comes Dion Phillips in his Audi, manages to jump from 8th to 4th, Daniel Page from 4th to 5th, JJ Rimmer from 7th to 6th, and then Craig A. Williams from 9th to 7th. Looking back, perhaps the BMW of Dilworth. Where did that BMW end up running off to? I have to wonder.
Well, we will
there he is.
Wonder.
Okay, there he is. I see him. He is he's just behind Dion Phillips. He managed to sneak right on by me as they went past the starter stand. So, yep, Jason Dilworth ended up finishing just ahead of the McLaren, so he did end up coming home with a position.
Well, there we go as we look towards the race results for a pretty action-packed race here in the Synology GT3 Championship at Imola. Here are the race results. And it's going to be Benjamin Hackeson taking his first win of the season, and that was a long time coming. Half a second ahead of Iru Nom. And, well, if you can see he finished half a second ahead of Iru Nom, then that's a very good thing indeed. That's Craig Parks taking the final step on the podium. Dion Phillips is going to finish in the 4th position, while Daniel Page is going to finish in that 5th position. JJ Rimmer going to be finishing right behind him in 6th. Craig A. Williams 7th. Jason Dilworth 8th. Marty Svandelden 9th. And Simon Underhill is going to finish inside the top 10. Neil Bamber going to be finishing 11th. Paul Wormsley 12th. Bram Reniers 13th. Soren Cruz 14th. Alan McCain 15th. Taylor Lane 16th. Mike Mason 17th. John Roberts and John Cook, they're going to be finishing in the 18th and 19th spots respectively. And Simon Jackson is going to round out the rest of your cars on the lead lap. And of course inside the top 20, whereas JPW Ringwood and others, including the cars of Ryan D. Walker, Martin Galenki, Jan Miltzever, Anthony Marsh, Jason Withrow, are all going to finish many multiples of laps down right there, Cam. And well, that was well, fantastic race for the first 3 quarters of it. It went into a little bit of a lull, and then there was a little bit of spice at the end with that battle for the race lead.
Yeah, and a great battle between the different manufacturers, and heck, even an inter-team, inter-manufacturer battle between those Bushfink Mercedes boys. But very good at running, some very good traffic management from Benjamin Hackeson, and a very, very late charge from Iru Nom allows this to be another extraordinary chapter in the Synology GT3 Championship.
It really is, and well, Benjamin Hackeson taking his first race win here at Imola, and well, he was the championship winner last time, last year, so it must feel good to get that first race win. And we're just going to take a short break here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live while the drivers get out of their cars and perhaps come to the RaceSpot TV commentary booth for some interviews. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back for the post-race show here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. And it was a fantastic race we just saw at Imola in the Synology GT3 Championship. A couple of the drivers are here for their interviews, and well, Cam, if you're going to be taking away, it's going to be with the driver of Iru Nom. Unfortunately for him, finishing P2, but take it away, Cam.
Well, unfortunately for him, but fortunately for pretty much anyone else in the field would have wanted to finish in second. Aero, it's been a very good season in that Bushfink Racing Ford, but here at Imola, just not in the cards. That McLaren of Benjamin Hackeson, just a bit too fast.
Yeah, maybe, but at least I got the fastest lap. And the problem was the last chicane. I can't get over the curbs with the Ford because it doesn't have the clearance to go over the curbs there.
Yeah, definitely. It's never really been a Kirby car, but either way, though, you did manage to catch the Benjamin a couple of times, and then right at the end of the race, perhaps just on a lighter fuel load, your car seemed to be. You seemed to catch in at the later stints. Was it fuel load? Was it just the tires? Because you always seem to manage to come into your own and manage to hunt down that McLaren as the time went on, but it just seemed too little, too late.
Yeah, I think it was tires, but yeah, I'm happy with second. I get the fastest lap point, so I think it's almost the same points as the win.
Yeah, and either way, a good run here at this Imola circuit. It's a circuit that I personally not that familiar with as far as a driver goes, but it seemed fairly raceable, seemed fairly interesting. The lap traffic seemed to make it a bit difficult. How did the track, the lap traffic, and everything else seem to go into effect?
Well, the track was very slippery. Yeah, it was sliding everywhere, and the lap traffic for me was okay. I think Benjamin got caught many times, so I was lucky with that lap traffic.
Yeah, so fastest lap, second position, and another job well done for that team at Bushfink Racing Ford. Eero, is there anybody you would like to give a shout out to or thanks before we cut you loose and let you cool down after this good Imola hour?
Yeah, well, like my team and the organizers. So yeah.
Short and sweet. That is the way we like it. So, good job. We'll see you hopefully later, and you have a very good one. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
So with that, we're going to be interviewing our race winner, Benjamin Hackeson, in that McLaren. And Connery, you are going to be standing by with him.
I'm here with Benjamin Hackeson, a very happy Benjamin Hackeson, I would have thought, switching to the McLaren just before this race, and he manages to pick up a race win with it. And how does it feel after having your season win last season to finally get at least one race win this season?
I'm absolutely over the moon. I think that's the best race I've ever done in my life. I didn't actually change to the McLaren for performance reasons. I just find it more fun. I didn't think I'd be anywhere near the front, to be honest.
Well, sometimes some changes can be just a little bit surprising as you finish, half a second ahead of Iru Nom. And, you did have a little bit of an issue with lap traffic because you extended that gap to almost 2 seconds at one point. Then once the lap traffic came around, that gap shrunk back down to around about half a second. And how tough is it to deal with the lap traffic around here? Because, well, if you're trying to pass for position, there's not a lot of places to pass, let alone trying to pass lap traffic.
Because it's a new car for me, I was finding it really hard to predict the speed difference between the two, between the lap guys and myself. So unfortunately I hit Dan at one point. Sorry to him, but yeah, it was hard. But I think the tyre wear on this car is the harder factor, to be honest. And that's, well, he was quicker than me, but that's why he caught me as quick as he did as well.
Yeah, that was definitely the case. And, I was just going to go back to that point of you switching from the Mercedes to the McLaren. You say it's a car that you enjoy more, and then, sometimes, just because it is a car you enjoy more, you tend to go a little bit faster in it. And, with a little bit of a balance of power changes that iRacing have been making over the past couple of builds, maybe that also played into your favor?
Yeah, I think the balance of power is a little bit biased towards the McLaren and the Ford at the moment. We'll see the Ford run away on the tracks where there's no big curbs, but the McLaren will probably be best everywhere else. I think that's what I've got so far.
Yeah, and we did see that with Iru Nom, in fact, especially on that last lap where he basically launched over the top of Variante Alta, trying to get so much time gained over you coming towards that last lap, but he was obviously unsuccessful in that endeavor. And currently, before this race, you were 6th in the championship. And well, with that race win, that's going to put your points up by quite a bit. But looking into what was going to be the second third of this season, if my mathematics is correct, we've already got 1/3 of the races done, or at least almost 1/3 of the races done. Is there anything you can do, or anyone else can do, to challenge Irunom for the championship come the end of the season? Looks like with the balance of power changes, things may be shifting in the other direction, and that direction isn't in the direction of Irunom. But, well, can you do anything come towards the end of the season?
It's very, very unlikely. He's an incredible driver. And the Ford at the moment is a very good car. So the only thing I can ever see anyone catching him is if the Ford gets majorly patched, which I don't think is going to happen because Blancpain GT series starting in a few weeks, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and that will also definitely be one to watch here on Racesport TV and iRacing Live when the Blancpain GT series starts back up. But that was your race winner in Benjamin Hackeson, getting his first win of the season in this race at Imola. And well, maybe that's the sign of things to come, maybe it isn't. But Cam, if you can drag Craig Parks into the commentary booth right here, maybe we can have a couple of words with him.
That we certainly can, and we are with Craig Parks. So, Craig, the Mercedes didn't really seem to have much for the Ford and the McLaren. It probably because of who was piloting those cars, but either way, though, it is a good thing to see. 3 different manufacturers, top 3. You finished 29 seconds off of them, but you managed to have a very good race despite that. You finished quite a far ahead of 4th and the rest of the pack. How did your day go at Imola?
Well, you make it out to sound a lot better than what I perceived it to be. The car was horrible, I'll be honest. It felt really good for the first 5-6 laps, and then just dropped off the tyres so much. I was struggling in every corner. Like you said, I'd got a good gap to the guys behind, so I knew I wasn't going to keep with the guys in front, or if I tried, I'd end up making a mistake and lose even more points. So it was basically a race of managing the gap behind and just keep it on the track.
Well, and if you're saying you had so many problems, we hardly noticed, but that 002, what makes the Imola circuit so difficult? It's tight. There seems to be a lot of high speed going right into low speed with a demand for good exit acceleration, and of course you got all those curbs. I think perhaps the lap traffic might have affected it a little bit, but I mean overall you seem to at least handle Imola as a circuit you seem to enjoy.
Yeah, I love Imola. I love the challenge of it. I think it's a really nice flowing circuit once you get into a rhythm. It challenges you both as a driver and it challenges the cars. And yeah, no lap's the same. Every lap is different when you're going around it. So yeah, the lap traffic today was good. No incidents with them. They made it quite easy to pass. So yeah, thanks to them.
Well, either way, the points are up and all that, so that's obviously very good. Can go through those when we can, Connery. But for you, Craig, I mean, the Mercedes, overall, they've been obviously making changes as far as balance and performance and yes, tire changes, especially with the new tire update that they seem to have had, and even the changes to the draft, I believe. That these cars always seem to be ever evolving. The Mercedes always does seem to, however, to be a stalwart and a favorite of many. It just seems to at least be a decently all-around car. Obviously not here today, but going forward, though, it still should be a fairly competitive weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still new to the car. I drove ever since joining iRacing. I've driven the BMW, and I've never differed from it. And then obviously when the last balance of performance came out, the BMW was just horrific, and I knew that I'd have to take the hit if I want to try and get further up in the championship this year. So I switched to the Mercedes, and I'm hoping in the next few rounds I can finally get on top of it and pull a bit more speed out of the bag.
Well, we wish you the very best, but is there anybody you would like to thank, any particular sponsors or anybody that would that powers that 002 Mercedes?
Yeah, I mean, a massive thank you to Tim from TMS Motorsport. Without him, this broadcast wouldn't be possible. And yeah, it's a day to celebrate for us because we're we're now first in the team championship. So let's hope we can keep it there.
Oh, absolutely, and we wish you the best going forward. But either way, that is Craig Parks, their Mercedes driver, finishing in the 3rd position in his 002. A very good run, even though the car wasn't that great. Connery, we'll hand it back to you for a quick overview of the points, and I believe that is going to do it.
Yep, that is going to be it, as actually I get these points up and ready well after this race, and those points are going to be on your screen right now. It is still going to be Iru Nom at the top of the table after this race, even though he came in that 2nd place. Craig Parks is going to move himself 3 spots up into 2nd place. Then Barry Baird's going to drop to the 3rd spot after not competing. Neil Bamber's going to stay 4th. Antonio Baird's going to drop 2 spots, should I say, down to that 5th place again, because he didn't compete in this race. And Benjamin Hackeson, despite winning this race and gaining all of those points, he's still 1 point behind Tony Baird, and he's just going to stay in that 6th spot. JPW Ringwood 7th, Simon Underhill 8th, Paul Walmsley in the 9th position, and Soren Cruz is going to move himself up 1 spot into that 10th place. Looking at the Teams Championship, though, it is going to be a change of leader in terms of the championship. TMS Motorsport are going to move themselves up into that 5th spot. Replace Race is going to drop down to 2nd. And Synology are going to move themselves up with the help of that win from Benjamin Hackeson. They're going to move themselves into the 3rd spot. Bodine Solutions is going to drop 1 down to 4th place. Seagate and Acorn Printing, well, that is pretty much the status quo back at the bottom of that Teams Championship. They're going to stay at 5th and 6th respectively. And well, that was an absolutely fantastic race here at Imola, and it's basically time for us to wrap things up here in the Synology GT3 series, powered by TMS Motorsport. Benjamin Hackeson winning today, his 1st win of the season for the defending champion. And maybe in the next couple of races he can take it to our current championship leader of Iru Nom with, well, his newfound pace in that McLaren coming from the Mercedes. I've been Connery Maddock, that's been Cam Walsh, and join us next time for the Synology GT3 series.